Good evening, everybody. Just want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know I'm a little late, but wanted to get my game in, finish my game up for today. But again, thank you guys so much for continuing to support me and be with me and rock with me, rocking with your boy. I have to say, truly, I'm excited because this is episode 107, 107 episodes strong. We've been into this and just want to continue this going. We'll do my few shares. We're going to get right into this week's episode. So again, feel free to share this. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And we're going to go ahead on and get started. And one more share and that'll be it. All right. So again, man, thank you guys so much. And I really, really look forward to this. And I'm excited about the conversation for tonight. But before, I've been having this thing that I've been doing, and I wanted to give a shout out to Hampton University. So I want to give a shout out to Hampton University out of Hampton, Virginia, the Pirates of Hampton University, HBCU. Founded in the 1860s, right after the Civil War, and just wanted to just give them a shout out. So go look them up. I just wanted to highlight HBCUs and bring light to what they've done and what they are doing actually in the community. Me being a person that matriculated at the HBCU myself at the Alabama A&M University, which they had their homecoming today. They played Bethune-Cookman, was able to pull out the victory. 35-27. So shout out to the Bulldogs, the mighty Bulldogs of Alabama A&M University with that. But with all that said and done, I am excited and happy about the conversation for tonight. And tonight we're talking about understanding the power of taking ownership of the things you do wrong, right? When we understand the power that we have in taking ownership of the things we do wrong, that is a very freeing and an empowering experience. And the reason why it's freeing and empowering is because we eliminate a lot of the middle person. We eliminate the middle people. We eliminate other people, and we start taking ownership of it. And we don't go down this rabbit hole of trying to blame other people or pointing the blame at other people instead of taking ownership ourselves. Because the reality is, either we made the decision. It doesn't matter about what influenced us to make the decision. We can deal with that later. But once we make that decision, right, we have to deal with those consequences. And there's power in taking ownership, because when we take ownership of it, the same ownership we had in freedom with making the choice, that's the same freedom we have with making it right. And once you take ownership of it, you deal with it, and nobody can come back and throw it in your face. They can try to. People will try to come back and throw it in your face. But the reality is this. The reality is you can try to, but I didn't took ownership of it. So you can't throw it up in my face. And this is a good thing right here, right? People cannot throw things in your face that you've already taken ownership of. And when people, the power that we give people to throw things up in our face is when we don't take ownership of those things. And if we can find ourselves in situations and circumstances in our lives where we give people power over us by allowing them to do things or allowing them to bring things to us, because we either refuse to take ownership or we refuse to acknowledge it. So, for example, if I did somebody wrong, and I know I did somebody wrong, and I come in and I say, you know what, I know I did you wrong, I take ownership of it, that nobody else can come and throw it up in my face like, oh, you did me wrong. Well, I know it. So you bring that up, that's your problem. That's not mine. I'm taking ownership of what I've done, right? I'm doing the work and doing the steps to make amends to whatever I've done. So you have to understand the power that's power that is in there. And it's simple, just take control. It's simple. It's simple to taking control, to get down to it, to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna take control of this. I'm gonna do I'm gonna take ownership of it. And it is the thing about it is a natural thing for us as people. It is a natural thing for us as people to not want to take ownership. Even if you see it, even if you go back even in the Bible, in Genesis, when God gave Adam and the instructions, and then when God came back and asked him He said, well, we was hiding because we were naked. He said, Adam point the blame, said the woman you gave me. And that showed us our human nature is one that we don't like taking ownership. And the power in taking ownership is that power in taking ownership eliminates a lot of hardships that we may, potential hardship that we may have to go through because we are trying to run from it and not face it. I mean, I look back over my life and there's so many times in my life where it was so much easier just to take up the ownership of it and deal with that immediate consequence instead of trying to run from it and deal with the residual consequences because I was running from it and I never faced it. I mean, that's something that I had to go overcome. That's something that I've learned through my experience, right? That I learned to say, you know what, if I did wrong, right, then I take ownership of it. And by taking ownership of it, that really saves me time in the long run. You know, and the reason why I said save me time in the long run, because I look back at some of the decisions that I made. I look back at some of the experience that I've had. And as I go back and examine, and even back as a young male or young boy growing up, I learned that if I take ownership of what I did, yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with the consequences, but usually the consequences are swift and they're over with. And I think this is the issue. This is the issue for many of us. All right. The issue for many of us is that we are so afraid of dealing with the consequences, or we try so hard to elude the consequences of our choices that we refuse to take ownership of something, and we will allow other people to bear the consequences or bear the blame just because we're too afraid to take ownership. And that fear is cowardice, right? That's why I say it's power in taking ownership, especially the things that you know you've done wrong. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, I really am. I apologize for that. Hey, I don't like it. Yeah, it made me mad. Yeah, this, that, and the third. I ain't got to say all that. I was wrong for what I did. I'm taking ownership of it. And by taking ownership of it, you know how much that does? You know how much that cut out? It cuts out so much. But many times we don't want to say that. We don't want to take ownership of it because we are trapped in fear. Right? We are fearful because we know we did wrong and we don't want to face the consequences. But this is it. The reality is this. You will always have to face consequences for every choice that you make, either good or bad. Right? We're going to do some things right. We're going to do some things wrong. No matter how much good intentions that you have, there will be some things that we do that are going to cause problems, that are going to be wrong. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. We are humans. We're going to make mistakes. But we have to understand there's power. There is power in taking ownership of the things you do wrong. You know, it is a sad thing, but there are so many, there are a lot of people who are hurting and dealing with hurt, the residual effects, impacts of hurt, because somebody else that has caused the hurt is refusing to take ownership of the things that they did wrong, right? So they will continue to blame them for it. And you got a parent that's blaming their child for how they neglected them and want to blame them, but really they need to take ownership. And the point that I'm saying is the power of taking ownership. People don't realize there's power in saying, hey, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I was wrong in that situation. I didn't mean to do that. I know, okay, listen, everything that you're saying, I did it. I take ownership of it. Do you know how much weight that lift off some people back? That people been carrying that and hoping that for somebody would just say, I'm sorry. There's power in that. It is. But the problem is you have so many people that out of fear of not dealing with their consequences, they would just continue and allow somebody to endure that over and over and over again. And that's sad. And that's how a lot of residual hurt, or what we call generational hurt, or things are passed on to generation, all because people don't understand the power of taking ownership. Hey, I did it. It was me. All right, boom. And my mom said, one thing we must understand first, there are consequences to whatever choices we make. There are good and bad consequences, both immediately and long term, many times generationally. And this is why I was talking about this earlier, right? Excuse me. This is why I was talking about this earlier, because a lot of hurt and pain, many of us are dealing with long-term consequences, all because we refuse to take ownership of the things we did wrong. Because by choosing not to deal with or take ownership of our consequences, what we tend to do is we tend to turn short-term consequences into long-term or generational consequences, all because we refuse to acknowledge and take ownership for what the choices that we made, not anybody else, but the choices that we made, right? We got to take ownership of it. You made the choices. You had the boldness and you had the courage and you had all of that to make the choice. But now you got to keep that same energy when those consequences come and own up to it. Whatever the consequences is, own up to it, address it, and it won't linger. You'll have to deal with it. You may have to deal with that consequence, but it won't be a long-term thing. Now don't get it twisted, right? This is what I mean by the consequence and long-term. And I'm saying this so I want people to really understand, right? If you choose to participate in what we call grown folks activity and you become with child and you become pregnant, right? That's a consequence that is going to be pretty much a lifetime. That brings a lifetime responsibility, right? But you have to look at it from the perspective that's not always a bad thing. That's just a result of the choice you made. The long-term consequences that I'm talking about are those things that we deal with, especially from an emotional standpoint. Those things that we deal with, especially about relationships with families and all of these things. I'm talking about those stuff that continue to haunt us and hurt us over and over, all because we didn't want to take ownership. We didn't want to take ownership, right? And watch this. Watch this. It's so easy for us at times to attempt to take on the role of a victim, to try to ease the weight of the consequences of us not choosing to take ownership for the things we did wrong. For example, it's easy for us to play the victim that, hey, they cheated on me, they neglected me, they did this, but we don't want to take the role of, I didn't do my role, I wasn't fulfilling my role, I was nasty, I was conniving, I was manipulative, I did all of these things, right? It's not a justification, but it does plays a role. But then now, when you have to deal with the consequences of it, now you want to claim like you the victim? No, it doesn't work like that. You got to take ownership of the role and the things you played, of the wrong or the decisions that you made. You got to take ownership. And once you take ownership of it, what it starts doing is when you take ownership of it, instead of trying to put it on somebody else, it builds an environment for reconciliation. It builds an environment for restoration. It set the environment for healing. It does. But if we're gonna not do it, and this is the thing, right? We have people who are quick to crucify other folks for things that they did wrong, and they judge them under the standard of perfection. But when it comes to them doing wrong, they refuse to take ownership for the things that they've done, and they want to be judged off the standard of grace while they're judging other people off the standard of perfection. And they want the benefit of the doubt. They want people to consider them, and they want people to be thoughtful of their situations. But when it comes to somebody else doing them wrong, they want to throw them under the bridge. They want to crucify them. They want to hang them out to dry. Oh, they did me wrong, this, that, and the third. Boom. They need to own up to it. But when it comes to them, now, well, the only reason why I did that is because of this and because of that. And they blaming other people, and they refuse to take ownership of it. Be careful with them people. If those people are in your lives, you need to identify them and move away from them quickly. You need to move away from them people. And the reason why you need to move away from them people, because those people, being around those people, rarely that you will see that those people will take ownership of the stuff that they did. And they will always blame you or blame somebody else. Always. And that right there is a dangerous place. It's I would put it like this: those people right there will drain the life out of you if you continue to surround yourself with them. Period. That would be it. But the other thing, the other point about taking ownership, right, of the things you do wrong, right, is when we start to take ownership of those things we did wrong, it's a sign of maturity. It's really a sign of maturity. It's a sign that shows that you are aware, self-aware enough to say, I acknowledge my choices and my behaviors and the impact it has on me and those around me and others. And as you mature, you should mature to the point or evolve to the point to where you are not living your life pointing the finger at other folks for decisions and choices you made. Stop doing that. It's some people 30, 40, 50, 60 years old still blaming other people for them have to deal with decisions and choices that they made. You the one that made that choice. You the one that made that choice. You was wrong. Take ownership of it. Take ownership, full ownership of it. Take full ownership, right? It doesn't matter, right? And this is the thing that gets a lot of people, right? It gets a lot of people and they be upset, but it doesn't matter what anybody else did that may have an influence on you making a decision. That the consequences, the decision of that was you did wrong or you did wrong by somebody. It doesn't matter that you had to endure some hardships. It doesn't matter that somebody used you. It doesn't matter about what somebody did to you, right? But when you make that decision, right, you own the full burden of that consequence. And you have to get to a space, right, to say, get to a mature enough space to say, hey, I got it. That influenced me, but I made this decision and I'm going to take ownership of my role, not other people's actions, but your role. And once you do that, you will find out that it is a freeing and empowering experience because now you free yourself from other people. You free yourself from being controlled by other people. And that's a very powerful thing that a lot of people don't even sit down and recognize. They don't even acknowledge, right? Because there are people who imprison themselves, who allow themselves to be imprisoned by other folks because they refuse to take ownership of their own actions and they're looking for somebody else to blame. And they don't realize that, guess what? When I'm looking for somebody else to point blame for a decision or a choice that I made that is wrong, I am giving other people power to control me. Because watch this, I'm thinking that I'm convincing myself that I'm getting out of the consequence, but what I really am doing is I'm imprisoning myself to be subjected or be enslaved to the long-term impacts of other people controlling the consequences of what I have to deal with. Instead of me just saying, I'm going to deal with it right now, I'm going to take it to the chest, I'm going to take this one straight up and down, no chaser. Then if I do that, then what happens with that is now I get the key and I control the key and I can free myself. I'm not under somebody else's bondage. My mom said a medical study shows that if a mother pregnant with a male child has anxiety about the loyalty of the baby father, that anxiety is passed on to the man child. And because the man child's DNA is passed on, that anxiety is passed on to the next generation. Failure to address the anxiety of distrust can cause severe mental health issues, not only for the man child, but his offspring. That only is important to take care of. That's why it's important to take care of your physical, mental, and spiritual health. I agree because it's deeper than just the surface. And this is something that I wish that we all could, really take some time to look at, right? It's deeper than the surface. And that's why I say taking ownership. We are quick as people, I'm included, right? We are quick to go ham on somebody for doing wrong by us. We would go ham on somebody for doing wrong by us. But do we keep that same energy when we know we did wrong by other people? Right? When we know without a doubt that we did wrong by other people. We know it, right? One of the hardest things for people to do is simply apologize. Simply say, man, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And why do you think that that's so hard for people to do? Why do you think that, right? Because we are fearful. It is a natural thing to be fearful of taking ownership of what we did wrong, right? And it's really it's a sign of being immature, right? And one thing I hate more than anything is somebody that try to come up to you and try to give you the apology. They'll say, well, I'm sorry, but no, or, no, that's not an apology. Take full ownership of it. Hey, I apologize to you for what I did, period. And then move on with it, right? Eat it. Sometimes we got to just eat it. Sometimes we just, it is what it is. And when we learn to do that, we learn that, I'm telling you, when you learn to do that and practice that, you'll realize just how much less drama and chaos you'll have to deal with in your life. You have to deal with so much less because you cut it off right there. You cut it off at the root. You deal with it right then and there, and you move on. And I would tell you, when you take ownership of the things you did wrong, like that eliminates other people with having ammunition to come back to try to blame you for stuff. And that's a good thing. I'm telling you, that's the power that's in it. When you understand that, and I would tell you, when you understand that, right, understand that power and taking ownership, you eliminate a lot of the people that don't need to be in your life. When you just start to say, hey, man, I was wrong for that. I'm sorry. Some people going to be cool with it, some not. Some people going to leave. Some people ain't going to come back. They doing you a favor. They are doing you a favor. Because guess what? Some of those people you didn't need in your life anyway. You did not need in your life anyway. So I know this was a short one tonight, but I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this helped somebody. And make sure that you go to my YouTube page, The Conversation 98. Go on Instagram, The Conversation 98. TikTok, The Conversation _98. And on here, The Conversation 98 on Facebook. Thank you guys for rocking with me. Please share this. Let somebody know that, hey, we are in the healing business. We are in the healing business on this show. And we talk about real topics that people go through. And I'm praying for my mama. She just put War Eagle on here. So I hope she feel all right. But you guys have a blessed and wonderful evening. God bless.